really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Eric, how are your midterms?
Oh, disastrous. Oh, the red wave. No, bro, you could have.
The bread wave, actually.
It's all look, this is YouTube, so I don't want to say too much, but it's pretty obvious that the main goal of this political establishment is not to really win, but just to create chaos and uncertainty. And then that
it would seem that way.
Call you if you just don't go with every single thing and we're gonna rewrite history. Oh, it's always been like this. I don't know. To be honest with you, I guess I'm not quite old enough to remember that many elections. Like I remember 2000 when I was a kid, and it was something about hanging chads. So I guess it's all. I guess it always has been like this. I don't know, but it's not even really about winning at this point. It's just about maintaining the narrative and creating chaos and vilifying people, in my opinion. Of course.
Well, I do remember as far back as the Bush and Gore stuff in Florida, and then the first one of the elections in Canada for a guy named Paul Martin, because it's the same name as a hockey player. And then since then, everything came in on time. Maybe that was just me being naive and not realizing that there were still things being counted. But the idea now that after 2020 that everything takes this long to be counted, they really don't want you to remember what happened before. 2016 didn't take this long. Didn't take this long for Barack Obama to be elected twice. Didn't take this long for Justin Trudeau to be elected 3 or 4 times now. We get all the stuff, just as many time zones, given it's not as many people. But as we can see, Florida counts everything that quickly. New York is able to count things that quickly. But for some reason, the exact places where the most controversial races are, that being Kerry Lake in Arizona and the district where Las Vegas is, they take days. And I even read that Alaska's runoff is going to take another month to figure out. But the crazy thing is that
is Alaska that densely populated? Is it that densely populated?
I guess so. The vampires, right? Okay. From that movie. There's lots of vampires there. Josh Hartnett. 30 Days of Night, good movie. But the district for Las Vegas, the cameras going out. Did you hear about this?
No. Oh, yes. The cameras, and then the meme. What's the meme? Your Ring doorbell never goes out, but
right. That's everybody and their mother and their mother's favorite commentator, Jack Posobiec, is saying. But entire building, the cameras are fine, but only in the voting count room are the cameras out, and they're out for 8 hours overnight before anyone notices. So where's the security guards? And they don't go in there. And the cameras are connected to a computer that temporarily loses connection often. So there's no need to fix that, and it's just a big mess. So now
it sounds kind of like the Pelosi story, right? Like, whoa, we don't know how a woman whose a man whose wife is third in line for the presidency just doesn't have top security in street rat infested San Francisco. Very peculiar.
So the best site I found for tracking this stuff was actually The Guardian from the UK, where they have, minutely updates here, and then they have a ticker here. But I noticed that 18 hours ago, they've stopped updating it since the Democrats have been declared the winners of the Senate, which is always fun. I thought, just like Trump, and of course we are on beautiful YouTube where Joe Biden is king, all the most important races delayed until something magically happens in all of them. And you kind of get that feeling for Kerry Lake and Blake Masters. And it's just like, it's like the dump off that happens. It's like, because, Philadelphia allowed backdated ballots, if I'm not mistaken. and ballots with incorrect addresses written on them. And I'm not saying, and I have to say what Tucker Carlson says, I'm not saying I know for sure anything here, but the fact that it's always these same highly sought after battles, Arizona went to Biden, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, in the middle of the night. And then, of course, it's only the county in Las Vegas, or the Las Vegas county, where this happens, for the lights going out in this tight race, where that, I believe it was the Laxalt guy,
Mm.
there. Las Vegas or Nevada did get a Republican governor, which I'm sure Dana White's happy about, and I'm sure he was probably watching the Las Vegas county race. But all these things happen in such controversial areas, and then where they did, and it distracts from John Fetterman versus Dr. Oz, which we'll
Oh,
talk about in a second, and that one was pretty close. I'll try to find the final numbers on that one.
But so here's what's happening, though. Like I said, either way, their trust has been completely eroded, which is good for the establishment because it just allows for chaos, right? Like, so look, I
Fetterman
can't
won by
say
200,000 votes.
200,000 votes in Pennsylvania.
235, yeah.
They voted for a man with brain damage. Okay, fair enough.
We'll get to him. Go ahead.
It's very hard to say, right? Because look, I can acknowledge that, okay, maybe I'm in a bubble, like minds attract, so I don't know what like the left, like the hard left wing people in Arizona, but I just don't see it. I commute 30 minutes to work every day, and you see FJB, LGB stickers, Liberty, or God bless Trump, all sorts of like, hardcore, like right wing stuff just slapped on cars. All the campaign signs are like 85% Republican. So it's very hard for me to believe that most people are out there really, jazzed up, amped up about Katie Hobbs. I just don't buy it. Like, even when you go to New York, I can see Biden Harris tote bags and tax the rich hoodies, and like you see this stuff. So you realize, the brainwash, sheepy bots out there, they're really out there. I don't see them here. Like, you might see a coexist sticker every now and then, but I'm talking about, just driving around. It just doesn't seem it doesn't seem like there's that heavy presence for this squeaky clean Democrat. And I will say, I mentioned on my Instagram a couple days ago, and I get it. I totally understand that social media is not real life, but when we're talking about a discrepancy of Instagram followers from Katie Hobbs having, what was it, 4,000, that she now got up to like 7,000 followers. We have more followers than the woman running for governor in Arizona versus Carrie Lake, who has almost 500,000. And again, I know that it's not a one-of-one correlation to real life, but is there no correlation to draw there at all? That 400,000 versus 7,000, we're not talking about 40,000 and 10,000. We're not talking about 5,000 and 20,000. We're talking about 7,000 versus 400,000. Is there no correlation there at all? Am I tripping?
Well, there has to be. I mean, if you take, like, we can talk about Kanye in a bit, but you take Kanye West's level of fame, and then you contrast it with somebody else who's just going to vote, or who's just going to be elected. Obviously, this person has hundreds of thousands of people. The problem in lies, though, is that where are Carrie Lake's fans all located? Obviously, she's way more well-known, but a lot of those people probably aren't in Arizona. Another thing that the only explanation I can see, Eric, and especially when we talk about John Fetterman, and I'll bring his mug up in a moment, is that people are Republicans are so hateful and everything, which can be true in some cases, I'm sure, but they'll just say, I don't even know who the candidate is. I've seen 30 seconds of John Fetterman. He looks cool in his hoodie. That's what they always try to do. They like make them look down.
I don't just for the record, I'm sorry. I'm not buying the hateful thing. Honestly, as corny as it sounds, the hate is 99% coming from the left. They're the ones who get off on canceling people. They're the ones that get off on, Molotov cocktails. I don't think it's the same thing with, and we'll get to it with Kyrie and Kanye, but it's like, is there anybody, is there really people out there right now who truly believe that Kanye West and Kyrie Irving go home and twirl their mustache and do, you know, the Birdman hand rub and just think about how they're going to plot on a certain group of people? No, bro. They just may not have been the most articulate. You know, they may not have said what they. Well, Kyrie is a different story because he just tweeted a link to a movie, but perhaps they're not the most articulate guys on the planet, but that doesn't. And that's why they're coming out with Hulu documentaries like we see. Like, no, we need to hammer this home. Like, Kanye is a bad guy. Never mind the 2 decades of hit music. Never mind. It's very similar with Trump, right? Everybody laughed and giggled when he said, "Oh, Lion Ted," or you know, "You're the Zodiac Killer," or Little Marco, and all that stuff. But then when he says one thing about DeSantis, everybody cries. Like, you knew what you were getting into. You knew what you were getting into. Kanye did the whole Taylor Swift thing. He did the George Bush doesn't care about black people. You know what you're going to get, bro. Like, it's really not that extreme. It's just that the media has gone into overdrive right now, trying to villainize these people. And it's like, you're mad because Donald Trump said something about Ron DeSantis. So what, bro? He's been doing that. I'm here for it. I like it. You know, do we need it? Like, is it like, no, he probably could have skipped that one, but it doesn't really matter, bro. They're going to hate you anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not, why hold your tongue? And look, I know a lot of people, this is probably a very unpopular or unauthorized opinion, but
wow,
there is something, and I can't put my finger on it. Well, I do know a little bit actually about Ron DeSantis. Okay, first of all, and maybe we're getting off track here, but he will fold. He is not the bull in the china shop that Donald Trump is. He will fold. They can get to him. That much I'm almost sure of. I can't prove it, but I think he's not going to be able to stand up because he's already rewritten history a little bit. Let him tell it, oh, for free Florida, blah, blah, blah. Dog, you shut down the state. You did. And now you're pretending like it never happened and you were always the freest. Like, yeah, you did better than a lot of Democrats, but that bar is low. The only governor who didn't, if I recall correctly, is Kristi Noem, who didn't do any of that. So he's trying to back off of it a little bit. And I think, and look, I like the guy. He seems like an upstanding guy, but when that pressure's on, he will fold, I think.
My point was going to be that I think there's a very small combination of things that allows Democrats to still win. The first being the uninformed Democrat voter just saying, I'm voting blue no matter who. That's right. They're British now that they're doing that. They're voting blue no matter who. And combined with these, you know, what's the word? The people who collect all the ballots. We saw driving a car with ballot. They go around
to froze up a little bit
folks' homes. They go around to immigrant families. They go around to immigrant homes and they go around to apartment buildings and old folk homes and retirement buildings and they collect all the ballots. They say, we'll give you $20 to fill this out for you. And they ballot harvest a lot of the time. And in some states, the limit's, I think, like 7. In another place, I think it's like 12. Some places it's 2 to 4. Regardless, they're able to come to these people, spend months and months and months because of early voting. They can spend, I don't know how many months. Pennsylvania, I think, has the earliest voting. And they can go up to these people and want these hateful Republicans to win. And look at Dr. Oz. He said this. He supported Trump. Can you believe that? And they get them to fill this out. And they fill out most of it for them in the undercover video that came out a couple years ago.
And that
that's
early
how
voting,
I can see.
Well, that early voting stuff, obviously, I think Oz. No, look, everybody knows Oz is not perfect. He's kind of a weird creeper, but different story. This early voting can go on for 6 weeks or whatever, and then the first debate is a week before election day, and millions of votes or hundreds of thousands of votes or whatever have already been cast. And you can't get those back if you want.
It's really weird that there was only needs to be one debate in some of these states. Up here, we have 3 mandatory ones. That's for the leader of the country, of course.
That makes sense. And I'm sorry,
there should be mandatory ones.
There should be mandatory ones, 100%. And I was very suspicious of Katie Hobbs's strategy to not debate. Isn't that a red flag right there? Like, I'm not going to debate because I know that the machine is going to do its job.
Or they just know that it's not going to help them at all. I mean, same thing with John Fetterman. He only did 1 because, and I'm going to bring him up now, because his brain is not working properly. And let's move on to that now, Eric, as this is the most. And British Lewis is here from the UK. He thinks that people just voted for Fetterman for the laughs of it. I mean, what does it say? Democrats outrun 86 years of history. There have been 22 midterm elections since 1934. And the president's party has lost an average of 28 House seats and 4 Senate seats. Tuesday night, Democrats outran 86 years of history. While we still don't have the final results, Democrat losses will be nowhere near the historical averages. I mean, the Republicans did that too under Trump. If anything, Democrats may pick up seats in the Senate. So obviously, this is a day old because they picked up 1 in the Senate here, and they're 50 to 49. Republicans -1. But you have John Fetterman, a guy who can't really think. He needs 2 TVs, a stenographer, and then a tech team to set up these TVs, and they're huge TVs. They look bigger than the one next to me, which I think is 55 inches. So he needs 2 large TVs, a tech team, a stenographer, just to be able to conduct an interview. And you're like, yes, this guy, I want him to represent you or represent me.
He's so brave. He's so brave.
That just shows, one, how bad Dr. Oz is, that you couldn't squeak out the 240,000 votes or whatever it is to beat this guy. But also the fact that these people aren't paying attention. I'm sure they could have been shown 3 clips of John Fetterman that were carefully cut where he looks like he's not struggling to communicate, and then vote for him because, again, the Republicans are evil. But if you viewed John Fetterman for an extended period of time in those debates, hello, good night, everybody, or in his interview with Don Lemon, where he says, we need people working and jobs, yes, jobs, and inflation comes, and yes, and working together, and all this stuff where you can't put a sentence together. How can you do that? I don't know. It's so bad that you have to think maybe it is a joke that people said this would be hilarious. But
it does.
The Fetterman one will go down as and I'm no historian yet. I'm reading a thing about all the founding documents for the United States. They're a lot of fun. But has there been a person elected that's worse than John Fetterman? Like, forget about the fact that he was a mayor of a place and he failed that. There's been worse people at politics than that. I mean, Lori Lightfoot comes to mind, and she gets reelected.
Marion Barry, the crack smoking mayor. You guys had
Marion Barry, yes.
You guys had a crack smoking mayor too, right?
We did, but he didn't smoke crack before he was mayor. There was no video of him before he was mayor. Has there been a person who's more unfit for office? Is it Joe Biden who's more unfit for office than Fetterman? I would argue that Fetterman's more unfit for office than Joe Biden. Joe Biden forgets where he is, invisible handshakes we've done on this podcast before. But still, Joe Biden, when he's hopped up on his nootropics or whatever, when that last debate with Trump, even though he was wrong about so many things, he still spoke pretty clearly, whereas John Fetterman couldn't do that. Who knows how much they had pumped into him. They've had so much money put into him, and he still gets voted in. I don't understand it. I just don't. Would Dr. Oz be that bad? I mean, he's a TV guy. Sure, he's boring, but like, would it be that bad? Would it be worse than the guy who can't speak? He'd be in there in the Senate with AOC and Chuck Schumer. And they're gonna be, what is he just gonna be told? Buzz my left arm if you want me to press no, buzz my right arm if you want me to press yes, or something. Like, what is gonna happen there?
Yeah,
I'm sure he's gonna get slightly better, but it's already been so long.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? That's what they want. They want somebody that they're going to drive and steer completely. That's how we ended up with Joe Biden. We both know that Joe Biden is not making any of those decisions. I don't know who it is. I ask myself that almost every single day. We don't know who the man behind the curtain is, or the establishment, or the amalgamous governmental blob. Some people used to say the deep state, the permanent political regime. Whatever it might be, these are the people that they want, and that's the same thing that we see with Katie Hobbs. It's like somebody is telling her, "Don't you talk? We got it. Don't worry about it. We're on the case. Anything that you say is only going to make this worse for you." So that's exactly what we're seeing. And what's worse is that they have the brainwashing has been completed, right? There's nobody, and this is probably something I've said multiple times as well. There's nobody who outside of the mainstream media, whatever, CNN, MSNBC, who's going to actually go to bat for these people, because you just can't do it. There's only people who are going to say, duh, I don't know, Republicans are racist. Or there's going to be people who are saying those people are insane. There's nobody when you're walking down the street, if you want to do a million streeters, every day, nobody's going to say, I really like that Fetterman because of what he did when he was mayor. Or Katie Hobbs, I know a lot about her positions, and she's gonna do well. She's gonna do right by us. Nobody would say that. They're only gonna say this is racism or equity or abortion. They're gonna know a couple of buzzwords. Nobody can go to bat for these people, right? So at least you had a bunch of people that could. Nobody's perfect, right? Nobody knows everything. It's impossible. Even the people voting on these bills and stuff, they don't even read them. But at least you could see it was a tangible thing. Like when the economy's booming, waiters are getting better tips. Tim Pool actually did a great video on this a while ago. He was talking about when he went to go buy furniture for some studio he was setting up, and the woman was like, yeah, a year ago, I mean, it's an old video, but she was like, yeah, a year or so ago, like, sales were booming, everything's down now. So it's like, it's just tangible. When I left South Dakota, gas was $1.89. It's things that you can see. Now, of course, the left-wing establishment's always going to say, well, the president has nothing to do with that, until it goes down 4 or 5 cents. Then they're going to say it's his good policy. So the point I guess I'm trying to make is that nobody goes to bat for these people. They only know, for lack of a better term, orange man bad, right? Everything on the right is orange man bad, basically, at this point. They know, we have been taught by nonstop propaganda that anybody outside of this circle is bad, so we're going to vote for these people. We don't know anything about them. We don't know the first thing about Katie Hobbs' platform. She could be out there running on, I'm going to turn Phoenix into San Francisco, and they wouldn't know.
I mean, that's probably what will happen. All right. John Fetterman, Blake Masters, I don't think he's going to win. I'm not sure though. Kerry Lake, there's some she's going to win. JD Vance, I'm surprised he won. I'm glad he won though. And then Nevada governor. But there were some, and then the people they upset in New York, that were like the head of the DNC, basically, of their House committee, I think. So a few things there. I'm not going to be surprised. And what is it at now? 211, 203 for the Republicans in the House. They're +6, but they still need 7 more, and we're almost a week in here. We're 5 days in. Who knows what can happen? And I digress on that.
Yeah,
Anything
isn't it
else
just
before we go to your video?
Yeah, last thing, it's just pretty obvious, right? I mean, to anybody who's paying even a tiny bit of attention, the longer it takes, it's like, do you really think
It's like
they're
they're
going to
trying to figure it out? They're just like,
Exactly.
how many burritos, and this is just because we're on YouTube, guys, I'm not making a racial statement. How many tacos do we have to bring in so that we have more tacos than the Republicans? And if you can backdate things, that's insane. If you don't have to have matching addresses, that's insane. If you don't need ID, that's insane. Because then you could just do all that stuff. Like, it's literally insane.
Yeah.
But
so they're gonna they drag it out, and they'll say, "Well, look at everybody loves us." And Bernie let the cat out of the bag too. I don't know if you remember that clip, but yeah, we'll move on. I think we're preaching to the choir. It's all very fishy, but this is our third world stuff. We're being ruled by these crazy tyrants, and they are refusing to give up power. They destroyed the economy. They told you to wear the mask and do all this. All of this stuff is rolled into one power play, and we're just living through it. For lack of a better term, this is it. This is CW2. We're living through it. We're seeing it.
This is an info war. War 2.
Has the Kanye West controversy changed your mind? Uh-oh. Does it look so grainy? Is it like that? Does it look that bad?
I downloaded it right from your phone, Eric. I mean, not from your phone.
From your phone.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get it to work. I hope. I pray to Allah. I don't think it's going to work. Hold on. It's not even giving me the option to play it. You went to yet another...
Has the Kanye West controversy changed your mind? Oh, I don't know. Is it coming on? Okay.
You went to yet another sneaker convention?
So this one was technically, it's called Patches and Pins. It's like more for like vintage people, hats. It didn't revolve around sneakers. Like the other one was Sneaker Con, it revolved around sneakers.
Okay.
And it was like a $20 entry fee or something. It was huge, thousands of people. This was much smaller, and it's more about like niche collectors, like literal pins that people put on their hats and their backpacks, and maybe your Tim Biebs bag, like little trinkets and toys, like the Alfred E. Newman,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? But there is a sneaker contingent there. It's just a collectible popular, people who collect weird little things, stickers, whatever, art stuff, right?
Let's
And I
see if we can
figured,
get
Has
it
the
here. I tried
Kanye
uploading
West
a different way.
controversy changed your mind? Are you still a fan? Are you going to sell your Yeezys? Would you buy more Yeezys? What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, bro. I'm not stopping wearing Yeezys, bro. They too
Working for you?
comfortable on my feet. You know what I'm saying?
It's
So
working.
I know Ye going through something right now personally, so that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm wearing on my feet. You feel me? So I rock with him still regardless of what he got going on. You know what I mean?
You rock with the music too?
Oh, yeah, I definitely rocking with the music, bro. I got to. That's where he started. You feel me? So, yeah, I'm rocking with him, you know?
Okay.
So, all right. So we got to throw. I know the volume is a little bit high. I know the levels aren't perfect, but the point that I want to make here is that the Kanye propaganda, the anti-Kanye propaganda, which of course we have been told that black people can do no wrong, and systemic racism and prejudice plus power, all that stuff for years. But now Kanye says one thing and they're like, oh, nope, he's a bad guy. So not only are they who shall not be named, are proving Kanye's point, but the propaganda is very specifically targeted towards the same people who are gonna. It's just a control thing. These are the same people who are gonna get 3, 4, 5 jabs. These are the same people who are gonna wear 2 or 3 masks. These are the same people that were gonna do everything that you told them to. I'd be willing to bet. We remember when Joe Biden pardoned all the marijuana and simple marijuana possession things or whatever, which turned out to be absolutely nobody in the entire country. I think it's similar with this. There was nobody who even, and we don't even have to talk about day one Kanye fans like me. We don't have to talk about the kids in high school in 2005 that were listening to Kanye. We can go back 5 or 6 years to people who found Kanye West during the Life of Pablo era or whatever it might be, or when the first Yeezys came out in 2010, right? Those people are not jumping ship, right? Nobody's going to say, oh, I was a huge Kanye fan, but this thing he said just makes me hate him, and I'm going to, okay, some guy who probably wasn't even a Kanye West fan burned his shoes on TikTok for likes, for clout. You know what I mean? But nobody, and I talked to a bunch of people who didn't even want to be on camera, who turned down like the camera, but like women who are wearing Yeezys, and they're like, I'm not made up. I don't want to be on camera, but I still have like 10 pairs of Yeezys and I'm going to wear them, and it doesn't matter. Like people, it's only for the same people who are going to look across the aisle and say, Orange Man, it's just another attack. It's not real. People who are sitting through it, they're like, no, dude, we can see. Same thing with Kyrie to a lesser extent. He's not quite as popular, but like I said, do you really think, is anybody out there thinking, oh, Kanye's at home plotting on how he's going to exterminate a group of people? It's not real, bro. It's all fake. And that's why they're coming out with a documentary to convince you.
If we have the bar of Chris Brown beat up his girlfriend and the fans still came out in droves for him, not knowing both sides of the story, of course, domestic disputes are always tough to get through unless you're there. Unless you're Jussie Smollett and it's, you're whacking off with 2 Nigerian guys. But if the fans will still come out, the
minus
female
20
fans,
degrees. Sorry.
if the fans will still come out for Chris Brown, I'm sure words, no matter how bad they are, the fans will come out for Kanye. The fans still come out for everybody. I mean, the Ray Rice they came out for. They come out for Snoop Dogg after the threatening the president's life in a music video or pretending to kill him. They come out for everything. Art transcends everything, and even basketball is an art. It's poetry in motion, as they say. And it's just crazy that this is like they got Kyrie to finally apologize. I don't care what you say. It's crazy that this is the thing that got to him, because if you listen to the establishment media, everything's DEFCON 1, if I'm getting my DEFCONs 1, and I don't mean a pun because that's what Kanye said too. But I mean, Hillary Clinton stuff, misogyny, Me Too, it's all the worst things in the world. Kyle Rittenhouse, George Floyd, Justice Kavanaugh, it's all the worst things in the world. I think Kyrie could have said any one of those things. There were people that came out against stuff like that. And there were people that came out against vaccines in the NBA. The player from Orlando, whose name I'm forgetting, Draymond Green, said, say whatever
Isaac,
you want.
I believe.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
Draymond Green said, say whatever you want. Draymond Green punched his teammate in the face. Fans don't care. But it's weird that they got him to say you can't be racist or xenophobic or whatever the word is against this group of people, because then we will really cut off your money. The vaccine stuff was only home games. So there was other places he could play, but this is universal.
And that rule made no sense, right? That rule made absolutely no sense.
San Francisco, New York, the worst cities in America. Chicago's up there for danger reasons, but this is what gets all his money taken away. So you don't have freedom of speech in the NBA, and they will just say you're. So now you have to go by the political leanings or the belief system of your owners, which is crazy, because if you go and poll again, nobody's going to sit here and stare at a camera and be like, I'm anti-Semitic. Nobody's going to sit there and say that, just like they're not going to say they're against black people. I shouldn't have said that on camera anyways. I'm just going to clip that. But
media matters.
I hate white people. Clip that one, George Soros. But nobody's going to say these things. But if you're going to go down to your team level and you're going to say, list all your, there's going to be a therapist comes down to the Toronto Raptors locker room and said, tell me your top 10 worst views or your worst and unpopular takes. And you say, well, you know, we have a senior vice president up in the office who disagrees with you on the fact that, you know, Donald Trump's the greatest president of all time. So you're going to be suspended without pay. We're going to need you to apologize and donate to the Trump campaign. Or we could turn it the other way. You don't agree with the martyrdom of George Floyd or something? You have to donate to, like, whatever it is. You can't do that to people, or else what are you doing? All of a sudden it doesn't become about the sport. I mean,
they're re-educating him.
I
They're
guess
literally,
yeah. But one more thing I was going to say, I guess some people believe that words are, and hate, or whatever you want to call it, are that hurtful. I just don't. You could, and I said this to you, I think the last time we were on, or maybe we were talking privately, you could sit there and say Napoleon was the worst general ever. The French people, Andrew, your French people are the worst people ever. You stink, you smell, your food is bad, you're generally shorter than other people. All these things. And I'm just be like, okay.
Yeah, but that's you're using just regular logic, right? You're just kind of like that is not welcome here.
But Eric, if somebody said to you
in line.
Somebody said, maybe this is a better question, Eric. If you, let's say you own a business with 5,000 people, I don't know how many people work in a basketball team, entire organization, probably less than that, a few hundred, and some guy starts openly saying, I hate black people, starts saying the N-word, even though Kyrie didn't say the word that people, I won't even try to come up with a term for it. But if this guy started saying what you felt to be racist things about black people, and he was of Kyrie Irving's talent level, would you kick him off your team?
No.
Well, what's his face didn't do that. Who is the racist Donald Sterling? He seemed pretty racist to me, and he didn't kick off anybody from his team. The Utah Jazz were pretty white, though.
No, he was,
but they saw Karl Malone.
No, he was owner of the Clippers, right? He was a Clippers.
Clippers, excuse me. Right.
Because it's funny because Chris Paul played for Donald Sterling while he was. So Chris Paul had two quote unquote racist owners, one in with the Clippers in Los Angeles and Donald Sterling, and then this new guy in Phoenix that I am forgetting his name, but he said some things in
Owner of
jest, I
Phoenix?
believe. The owner of the Phoenix Suns, Sarver, Sarver,
Okay.
who apparently said some things in passing like years ago, like more than a year ago. And even if you read the articles about it, they basically even admit that it was kind of a joke. But I think something happened along the way that they brought this back up to bring him down, right? So they were like, well, this was funny. This
All I
was a
did
funny
was
joke. Hmm?
all
What?
I did was type in Sarver, and the allegations are the first thing that come up.
Yeah. So it's just funny because Chris Paul played for both of these quote unquote racist guys, whatever. I don't know
He's
the
gonna
whole story
sell
about
the Suns.
because they forced him out.
That's kind of insane.
It's totally insane. So they force him out. And this is another tinfoil hat thing. He owned the Mercury, which of course is where
You
Brittany
have to.
Griner played. It's just kind of
Yes.
weird.
So
Like
he.
of
So
all the teams.
I mean, I think there
Brittany
is an
Griner.
argument to be made where it's just like you can still be racist and have people working for you of another race. I mean, that makes sense. Like you would want them working for you,
But
but
look, no, bro. But I think, look, unfortunately, like I'm just not buying it. All of the words have
yeah,
been
that's a different
completely.
story.
All of the words have been completely bastardized or whatever you want to call it. They don't mean what they used to mean. They don't mean what they meant even in 2002, right? Like it's all completely different. And as far as Kyrie goes, I mean, they are humiliating this man. And they did the same thing to Kanye, right? But Kanye's not on a team, so to speak. Or I guess he did get dropped from Adidas and Gap or whatever. But Kyrie is actively on a team and they're literally telling him, "No, you need to grovel more. Like you are going to
It's true.
you
They did do that. If you're
yeah,
gonna tell a guy apologize and donate to this thing, and then be like your apology wasn't sincere enough. I mean, like, bro.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And look, I don't think I don't think it's out of line to say that they're basically doubling down because of his stance on the juice, right? Like, yeah, they might have been mad and they might have said, "Okay, Kyrie, apologize," but you also went against us last year when you were supposed to get the shot and you didn't. So this is a twofer. We're getting you. This is a 2-for-1 that we're gonna foist upon you, and you know you're just not allowed to do that, bro. Like how dare you? Because like Kanye said in a recent interview, they can get LeBron. LeBron is a puppet of Obama, Hillary, whatever. He's gonna pretend he's reading his Malcolm X books upside down. They can get they can get all these guys. Steph Curry, of course, was at the DNC, so they have their hooks in all these guys. But Kyrie, who is arguably one of the best basketball players we've seen in decades. I mean, if you watch, you could go on YouTube and watch some of his highlights. The man's incredible, right? Like we're not talking about a Kaepernick who does his knee thing and then throws 6 picks in a game. Like we're talking about a stud who knows what he's doing on the basketball court. And so, in order to make sure that look, and the same, it's very similar, right? Even a little bit with Trump too. It's like Kanye and Kyrie, they can resonate with a certain group of people that the establishment desperately needs to obey, right? And that's why they have Stacey Abrams out there trying to counteract it, going to these rap concerts and talking about, kill your baby and that'll reduce inflation or whatever nonsensical stuff they're talking about. Kyrie and Kanye, they communicate to a demographic that they need bad. And unfortunately for that establishment, a lot of those, a lot of all that racist stuff that we've been told, you could watch videos from Sav Hernandez, you can watch videos from all over the place. And unfortunately for them, like the I don't think that this 21 to 40-year-old black guy is as stupid as they think they are. It's just a fact, unfortunately. Like and that's why they're we can't have this. Like Kyrie, apologize, change your belief system. Kanye, you need to apologize. And then you if you really want to dig deep into it, you can look into who owns all these media corporations, Hollywood, banking, real estate, everything, right? I'm not gonna touch that one, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Like it's just. And then you can run the old clips. Last thing here, you can run the old clips of Charlemagne the Fraud, saying the same thing, and now he's pretending like he never said that. So
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon
was
right?
deep. Nick Cannon's historical knowledge was so bad that he said the reason people had white skin was because they were afraid to come out of the mountains to get food, and that's why he thought that white people were weaker as well, which was a very historically accurate take.
I don't even remember what he's like.
That was when he was on that podcast that was black and white. I don't know whose it is.
And
But,
then he was wearing
he
like that weird
apolog-
like turban thing. Was he wearing like some sort of like
Yeah.
headdress or something? I think.
But he had to apologize because he's got like 10 kids or whatever. He needed that America's Got Talent money.
Absolutely.
As we all do. We'd all love America's Got Talent money. Let's try, Eric. Let's try to go mobile. Let's see if this works. Well, we'll say unauthorizedopinions.com, uopod.com. Please subscribe. We're on Spotify. We are on Apple and Google podcasts as well. Do we want to address?
Switch.
No, let's try to get that guy back on next week. Well, before we address it, maybe.
Okay.
I have something to address. Entourage, my favorite show ever. They have a podcast called Victory the Podcast, and they were doing this thing on their show where they're talking about if it's weird that people take off their shoes in their house. And apparently in America, you don't take off your shoes in somebody's house, or when you go into somebody's house, they don't ask you to take off your shoes. That's normal here. I messaged Kevin Connolly, who was Eric. Very good.
Shout out to E's
Entourage.
girlfriend, friend of the show.
Yes. This is something maybe I should tell her this. Shout out to Mayor Armstrong for mayor. So I message him on Instagram. He responds, and he says, that's very strange. I'm telling him that in Canada, we always take off our shoes inside of somebody's house. And even you go to a showing of a house, and there'll be signs that say, please take off your shoes, because they don't want to clean it again, I guess. So I tell him this. He's like, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. And then I tell him another thing, because they were talking about on their podcast network how Stephen A. Smith has a new show, and it actually showed up on their podcast page, which was irregular. Like, you think it's a new episode, and it's irregular that a preview for another podcast would show up on that stream. So it's like I had an Andrew Says thing show up on the unauthorized opinion feed, and you'd think that's a new episode, but it's actually for another show. So I told him that, and I was like, not that I care, but this is why people, as they were saying, were freaking out about it. It was like 10 seconds of turmoil. He got mad. He goes, your show doesn't monetize. And I'll add these in after these screenshots. He goes, well, your show doesn't monetize. So why even care if that's your opinion? In fact, I don't even know why I'm talking to you at all. And then I go, Kevin, I was just joking. I don't actually care. Like I said, I don't actually care about the thing showing up on your feed. It was 5 seconds of not noticing that it was a podcast, and I forgot about it. And then he blocks me. So Kevin Conley, and I also said that I would consider his friends now, Kevin Conley. So Kevin Conley got mad at me for trying to explain to him why other people other than myself were upset that a different audio feed showed up on the podcast page. He didn't like it, and then so he blocked me. And this is exactly funny because on their podcast, they're talking about who would be the best king, because they talk about Game of Thrones, who would be the best person to run a kingdom. And they say he would be too much of a tyrant. And I'm going to have to agree, because as a fan of his show, my favorite show of all time, that and Seinfeld, I'll say for you, Eric, he took me the exact opposite way. I was trying to be nice to him, and then he blocks me. So I would have to agree, Kevin Connolly, you are not fit to be king. I'm sorry. And that's my story.
I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. I don't know anything
Neither
about
do I.
But I do know.
But it was, yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring this up, because I was actually thinking about this, and I don't want this to come off wrong, but I think there's two guys that I think I would be okay with being king. Okay. First, Bryson. King Bryson.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
But you live in some sort of Christian, like, religious state.
It will be fine. If everybody falls in line, we can defund the police just like they've always wanted. Okay. Number two, Matt Walsh. Now,
Matt Walsh is king. Interesting.
Yeah,
Again, that's another. You're choosing Christian lords. This has happened throughout history.
Well, we need to repent. these people are demons. Okay, this is what's happening. I'm not a religious guy, but there's evil, there's possession going on here. And there's one weird thing though that I heard, and obviously I can't take in all of these guys' content, but I think they're just strict enough to make some of these people fall in line. Maybe that lieutenant governor, I think from North Carolina or South Carolina, I think his name's Mark Robinson. He might be a good king too. But there was one thing, if we're on just random stories, Matt on one of his shows said that he was surprised that because he didn't know what the word taqueria was, like taqueria, and
Which is what?
So it's like a burrito shop, a taco shop. It's very California.
Okay.
They have them here in Arizona too. But me growing up in California, I was swimming in them. They were like on every block, like a Starbucks, like little taco shops all over the place. So I was it was strange for me to hear him say that he didn't believe that everybody should know what that word meant. And I was like, oh, dude, I definitely know what that word means. So it really has nothing to do with anything else. It was just like he was so offended, or maybe offended is not the word, but he was taken aback by the idea because somebody else was offended that he didn't know what the word meant. And I'm sitting here like, of course everybody knows what that word means, but you don't know what it means. So maybe that's just the California, like just being from California, they're all over the place. But outside of that, I think Walsh, I think Bryson, because we just look, we're done like tiptoeing and like trying to it's already gone so far. We're at the point where men are winning women's beauty pageants. So yeah, I would say we need to stop pretending.
Find Christ, bruh.
Well, I mean, look, we need to just stop pretending that we're gonna just like get them back into sanity little by little. No, rip it off like a Band-Aid and get back into sanity. We're not playing the games anymore. We need like a stern father figure to just tell these people, no more. We're not doing it. Stop. You can wear your weird stuff. You can go to your bars at night. We're not bringing the kids in there. We're not, taking knives and scissors to these people. It's not real. Stop it. That's what we need. There was something else
Very persuasive.
I was gonna say about Entourage. Was it Entourage? Seinfeld. I forget. I don't know. Can't remember anymore.
UOPod.com. Eric's reporting Opine on Instagram. I'm Andrew Does, DOES. And of course, you could type in the whole URL, unauthorizedopinions.com. We're going to be posting this on Rumble as well. So if you want to catch it on there, you can, starting this week. It's always on Spotify and Apple Podcasts the next day. Let's try to go mobile. Let's see what this does. It doesn't let us do it while we're live. So there goes my big plan.
So you can do it just in a recording though, but not in live. Is that true?
I would assume so, yeah.
All right, we'll figure it out later.
Transgender identifying teen becomes first male to win a Miss America sponsored beauty pageant. Terrible. So let's read a little bit from the Daily Wire, then we'll show you pictures of the beauty queen, as you will. Trans identifying male beauty pageant contestant celebrating a recent history-making win. Brian Newen is the first biological man to win a Miss America competition after taking home the title of Miss Greater Dairy 2023 in New Hampshire. Per the website, the scholarship program provides scholarships to, quote, young women, end quote, between the ages of 17 and 24. Newen celebrated the win with a post on Instagram. My name is Brian Newen. I'm 19, and I'm currently a freshman at Nashua Community College majoring business management. So, not changing his name there. Eric, initial thoughts, and then we'll show you Brian.
Well, it's obviously insane. We need to just quit playing these games. And look, it feels like we do this like every 6 months. Like there was that thing in Vegas. I think it was a Vegas beauty pageant or something. And I guess it goes without saying, I don't know if there's any male beauty pageants, maybe like weightlifting stuff, but does a transgender woman ever win that? Does a woman...
They should. It's just based on like definition, right?
And last thing, I don't like the wording because they keep saying biological man. There's no other kind of man. You don't have to say, oh, well, a biological man. I didn't know. See, you've already waded too deep into their nonsensical doublespeak.
You've already lost.
Yeah, you've already lost a biological. What other kind? What other? You tell me. What other kind of man is there? There's a trans man? No, there's not. It's ridiculous.
Here's
Oh,
Brian, and here's the shot with him with other contestants.
wait, was it like a chubby
So
contest or why were they
yeah,
all
it's a
so-
big fat guy, but oh no, all the girls are
Go back
as
to the
you
other one though.
expect in a
Looks like
beauty
the other one
pageant.
looked a little. Did they not look a little bit heavy? Okay, not that one, but
Yeah, this is New Hampshire, Eric. Okay.
all right.
But the problem in law is that not only is this a man, this is an obese man. Like, so you have to accept a fat man winning against women in a female beauty pageant. My name is Brian New, and I'm 19. I'm currently a freshman at Nashua Community College, majoring in business management. I hope to use my degree so that I can create sustainable, ethical, and inclusive products such as clothing, cosmetics, and accessories. How do you make clothing and cosmetics that are for trans people? That's just women's stuff. Like I also hope to continue, he goes on, I also hope to continue to grow my career in the modeling and social media industry. Modeling. Who's buying this stuff? Women don't want to see this. I'm sorry. Queens are everywhere. My social impact initiative. This is a media movement that helps the next generation develop self-confidence. It's the movement that helps people lie to you, Brian. They're lying to you. I'm sorry, Brian. Maybe you're a nice guy. I don't know you, but they're lying to you. The girls up there clapping, they're either lying to themselves or they hate you. Those are the two options. They're lying to themselves or they hate you and they're pretending.
No, or they're scared. They've been beat into submission by the.
That's lying. They're lying to
okay,
themselves,
all right.
though.
They are true, but they are lying because they are so scared that they know that if they were to say, this 250-pound, 6'3" dude is not a woman," then their life could. And this is how bad it's gotten, right? Like,
but they're already losing. So what else can happen?
They won't be able to get into college because they didn't agree that this dude was
sadly,
a woman, right? Because they've been and it all like
they're getting replaced by men. The thing they've complained about non-trans men doing for the past 5 years, maybe longer, probably 6 years, 7 years now. I was looking at the date. The thing they're complaining about that wasn't happening is now happening because it started with the creepy liberal dudes at Vice and Vox and all these places creeping on them. They didn't want the Me Too stuff. They didn't want men creeping on them. Fine complaint. And then the guys who said, we're not going to creep on you, creeped on them and tried to touch them and whatnot. Then the guys that says, we're here to protect you and lift up your voice and be an ally. Now they're saying, not only are we going to creep on you, we're going to replace you. So you want great replacement theory? This is men replacing women in their own places, whether it's women's swimming, women's wrestling, and now beauty pageants. Now we have to pretend that a man is beautiful. So a guy can just be a woman if he says he is, then he can also say, no, I'm more beautiful than you, and you have to agree. I'm better at being a woman than you because I feel like it.
Yeah, so exactly.
And you have to agree or die, I guess. Agree or die.
Exactly, or we will destroy your life, which is which is completely insane because at that rate, and I know we're beating this hypocrisy into a paste, but I'm just, hey, you know what, guys? Actually, I am better than LeBron James at basketball. I identify as such, right? Like I can slam dunk. I mean, if you just lower the rim a foot and a half for me, I will be able to slam dunk on top of it. Like, why can I not just identify as anything? Why can I not? You know what? I'm Elon Musk. I'm a billionaire. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
They would have to stand there and just be like, let's just watch Eric try to shoot the basketball as many times as it takes for him to win. And we're just like, he's better than us. Or you stand there and you come up with the design for the electric car battery until it works. And we'll just stand there and wait and keep giving you money and applaud you for it. Yeah. They're applauding somebody for being fat. First of all, it's the first problem. If this was a big fat girl, they'd be like, what the hell? They've already tried this, of course. But it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And unfortunately, it's going to start. These women are going to have to start bullying. What's this? Is he going to beat them up? I mean, I'm sure he could, but like they're going to have to start bullying. They can't. This social contagion. This girl named Chrissy Clark from the Daily Caller told me this on my show. Girls are so susceptible to social contagion, which is why anorexia exists, and taking pictures of your ass exists, and taking selfies and looking for attention that way exists. It's a social contagion. They see people clapping for Brian Newen, and then they're just like, I guess this is the right thing to do. And then we're coming into this part now where we're seeing people explain transgenderism and gender affirming care and why it's wrong to do so with all these documentaries in these children's hospitals, because you don't affirm mental disabilities or mental health problems. You don't say, hey, anorexic girl, here is liposuction, and you don't say, hey, 600-pound life with the creepy doctor, I want to show you the skin that I cut off of you, that guy. They don't say, hey, eat more, because these are illnesses people have. Obesity, they can't stop eating, even though it's their fault. I'm not going to say that it's not. Or anorexia, you can't, which probably isn't their fault. They look in the mirror, they think they're fat. You don't say, hey, keep starving yourself, just like you don't say to the fat person, keep eating yourself to death. You don't say, keep doing heroin. We have heroin affirming care. What's wrong with that? Drug affirming care.
They basically do that. I mean, they kind of do that with these free needle exchanges, and, you know.
But that's not the right thing to do. And everybody could agree on that for the most part, that it's like you have to actually address the problem. But for some reason, for transgender stuff, there's no addressing the problem. It's let them go as far as they possibly can until, the bottom falls out. This is what's going to happen for Brian Newen. He's going to go in there and be like, everyone thinks I'm pretty. Everyone thinks I'm a pretty girl. And then he's going to go up to a dude and be like, I'm a pretty girl. Go out with me. And the guy's going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
and then he's going to cry.
I was looking for it. There was an article I saw about this, but it was the framing. And this is to your point, like this social contagion. It's all the same, right? Like that sort of thing that's very contagious. I guess that's right. Social contagion, same thing. Mm-hmm. And then of course your livelihood, your future being in jeopardy if you choose not to go along with this, right? Which is really up for debate, because it's only a small sect of people who are trying to do this. So it's all astroturf. But there was an article I saw, and it was titled "Why?" Because when I was looking for like transgender beauty pageant or something, all this other stuff, old articles and all sorts of things came up, and there was one that said, "Why would a beauty pageant not allow a transgender woman to compete?" And it was all like super, like one of these weirdo, crazy lefty like, oh Lord, like Pink News or something. It was like, why wouldn't you let a man into the woman's? You know what I mean? It was like and this angle that you're showing right now is actually worse than all of them. I mean, that is like, we're talking about like just the curves on this handsome young man. I mean, young lady, excuse me. The curvature on this handsome young.
Don't you dead name. I think we can dead name now, Eric, though. Elon owns Twitter.
Elon does not own YouTube. Susan.
You can dead name on YouTube. That would just mean monetized.
Okay.
You know what I heard about YouTube? Sorry to switch gears. I heard that because of people going to other platforms. I mean, Rumble's doing well. They've got our guy Steve on there. And Elon, I'm sure, is going to put a reel or a short thing, short vertical videos of Vision. If you're on Getter, best podcast on Getter right here. I'm sure Twitter is going to have that. So I've read half-assedly, that YouTube is starting to unban some large channels because they probably need to make money off of them. I mean, I'm sure they haven't just softened their stances on stuff. Maybe technically that's what they're doing, but I don't believe they've changed their viewpoint. I mean, and I've read that some large creators are just having their pages restored, and that might be a good sign. So maybe we can dead name Eric. Tomorrow we can talk about the elections.
Steve, who he was completely banned off YouTube, right? Steve will do it. Gone.
Yes, for not for including a gambling website link on screen.
No, okay. Now they're all right. That's a reach. I don't know. I didn't read the TOS, but that feels like them just sitting there watching. Like,
God, they don't want Steve and Nelk on there because they're right wing.
They're not, bro. They're not like right wing.
I know, but they don't.
They're common sense.
They don't say that they hate Trump. and Dana White and all these people. And now Steve's doing a bunch of videos with Andrew Tate and his brother.
And then I guess 6ix9ine is still in there, like
Yeah.
trying to coattail them because I think he's running out of money. But
Apparently he's not. He got if you watched your Steve videos, they said when they went to Russia, some guy paid 6ix9ine $90,000 to come play a game of FIFA with him.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
I'd kiss 6ix9ine for $90,000.
No comment.
He knows that I haven't. All right, unauthorizedopinions.com, uopod.com, Eric's Report and Opine. He's writing for Tatum Report. And I am Andrew Says TV on Twitter. You can catch us on Getter. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify. Give us a friggin' review, man. All right? You know, a 5-star review, man. Okay?
Buy my book, too.
Buy his book. Buy his wardrobe.
Turn it up, Jordan.